Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the STEMspired podcast, where science meets storytelling and where passion meets purpose. I'm Dr. Mia, as you know, and we have an incredibly special guest who is redefining what it means to thrive in science and in outreach. Our special guest is future Dr. Lindsay Anderson. She's not just a neuroscientist in training, she's a powerhouse of advocacy, education, and inspiration. And as the founder of Consciously Coping, which is a nonprofit dedicated to mental health outreach, especially within marginalized communities, Lindsay brings both lived experience and deep scientific knowledge to the forefront of her work. Her online presence is vibrant, is real, and rooted in making neuroscience accessible and relevant. So, whether she's breaking down brain science myths or showing what it looks like to be a Black woman navigating through a PhD program. But today, overall, we'll talk about what sparked her love for neuroscience, how she's tackling mental health stigma head on, and what it really means to her to balance purpose, passion, and academia. So, whether you're a student, a scientist, or someone that's overcoming mental health challenges, this episode is just for you. So let's get STEM inspired with future Dr. Lindsay Anderson. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for the introduction. That was really nice.
Absolutely. So, give everybody, I know a little bit about you, of course, but our audience doesn't know much. I gave a brief overview, but can you give a brief introduction of yourself, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, so I'm Lindsay Anderson. I'm currently a third year graduate student at the Ohio State University. I work in a lab that is heavily computational neuroscience. However, we do a lot of wet lab as well as dry lab. And so our work we look at behavior modulation and how is behavior computed in the brain, what drives changes in behavior, how is behavior adaptive and flexible. So that's kind of what we do. We work with larval zebrafish, so we're not a mouse lab. And yeah, it's really nice. My PI is a great person. Personally, um, I am involved in a number of things at our institution. I do a lot of community work with our program called Neuro. I'm also a part of the diversity scholarship committee. So I we vote to who can get funds to help them move here or any type of things like that. I'm also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, so I'm very active in that as well in my free time. And then lastly but not least, I run Consciously Coping, which is a mental health organization that's dedicated to sharing personal stories and lived experiences as a Black woman with our community.
We love to see it. We love to hear that, especially for the Black community. Mental health is so important. It needs to be at the forefront. We have to prioritize it. So I'm happy you getting out there. And good for you for not working with mice because I do not love it. Okay. I did not love it. Not one bit. And I'll never do it again in life.
Same. I rotated in two mouth labs and I never touched the mice. I was like, I can't do this. I couldn't do it.
Man, I was looking at that cage for 10 minutes saying, God, please help me. I don't want to get bit today.
Ooh, that's what I'm afraid of. That is exactly what I'm afraid of.
So I
Mm-mm.
know you don't work with mice and you work with zebrafish, which is a pretty interesting perspective and something I don't really see often in neuroscience. So, what inspired you overall to pursue the field of neuroscience?
So I went to Savannah State University. We both did. That's why I
And
think we.
go Big Blue.
Oh, yes. Um, but when I was at Savannah State, I applied for summer internships. I really wanted to do research and I wanted to see if I wanted to do a PhD. And so I applied to 17 different programs. I was very overzealous and ambitious. This is my first
Yes,
year.
girl, you were on fire.
I applied to 17 different institutions and I got an email. I was taking a nap. It's so funny when I tell this story. I was taking a nap. I get an email. It says Johns Hopkins. And I was like, oh, this is spam. I was like, it's spam. There's no way Johns Hopkins is emailing me. I went back to sleep. So I woke up and I was like, did John Hopkins email me? And so I like clicked on the email and it's like, hey, we want you to come here for the summer. And I was just like, let me see if this is a real person. So I went on the website. It was the Dean of Arts and Sciences. I was like, oh my God. So I was really excited. And I went and well, not rotated, I worked in a neuroscience biophysics computational lab. And it was it's amazing. I always talk about that lab and that experience and working with C. elegans, which are these nematode worms. They also work with spiders. So it was interesting to see different models outside of rodents. Um, and that was one of the reasons I chose the lab because they didn't work with mice, but it was fun.
Outside those rooms. I know that's right.
So
Cause
it,
girl,
but
I had them rats. I said,
yeah.
oh.
So, but it was really fun. It was really fun. I enjoyed it. I worked, I would work 8, 9 hours and I was like, oh, I'll be exhausted. I won't like this. I didn't have a problem. I would stay up late and read and I liked what I read. So once I realized like, oh, I like this, I could see myself doing this, that's when I was like, okay. And I love neuroscience. Like I was like, the brain, I was like, this is right up my alley. Also, of course, mental health advocate. So it just kind of intersected, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So that's really how I got into neuroscience. If it wasn't for the internship, I wanted to do genetics. So I was going to just do a genetics PhD until I got in that lab, and I was like, oh, this is neuroscience. Okay. I was like, yeah, this is it. Yep.
And I think that's a powerful message. Like, don't ever doubt yourself or underestimate how people view you or your value or your worth because I can understand with us coming from a smaller HBCU, like ain't no way this got to be like a little spam some when I wanted to filled out a contact information form or something. Maybe it's not true, but the fact that it happened for you is everything. And I think that's what people need to know, that despite where you are, you can go to amazing places. And
Yep.
I know you talked about your love for neuroscience, right? You gathered and had those experiences. Well, how do you address like different misconceptions about the neuroscience field, especially through your educational content and social media platform?
That's an interesting question. So I think like now we see a lot of people who get on social media, and this is my number one most hated thing. I just talked about this the other day to some of my friends. People will get on social media and they'll say, "Oh, it's morning and we should decrease our dopamine." Oh, get off the phone. Decrease the dopamine. You don't want a lot of dopamine. And they like go on and go on about like, we need to reduce the level of dopamine in our brains. We need to wake up in the morning and we need to go for a run. And what people don't understand is that dopamine is not only vital for our mental health and like happiness. There are a lot of reasons why our brain produces dopamine. It's not just like a on off thing, right? So dopamine is always being expressed, it's always being released in the brain. But people assume that it's only released when you're happy, and that's just not the case. We know for sure in Parkinson's that the
Hmm.
dopaminergic system is disrupted, and that's why they have different motor deficits. So, but people don't know that. People don't know that dopamine, like literally, dopaminergic neurons are the reason why people have motor deficits in Parkinson's. So it's interesting to hear all these people, and no shade to those people and trying to get healthy, but I think this happy health resurgence is just like, I know what I'm talking about. These influencers, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, right? I'm like, you don't understand. So I think that's why I'm just like, I try to share my work and like what we know, what we're learning, some of the background we get like in our first year courses, and break that down, especially for African American people, right? Especially for Black people. Like, we are highly influenced by social media. We use social media. We make social media fun. We start all the trends. We run the TikTok. So
Yeah.
We consume so much, and I don't want Black folks to think, oh, what this influencer is telling me about dopamine is correct. What this influencer is telling me about oxytocin is cute, right? So I'm trying to like clear that up and say like, hey, wait a minute, like, let's dive into this a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's good too that people need to see that there are Black people inside of these research institutions that do care about making sure that things are done honestly and ethically and are trying to be that bridge and that gap to make sure that people like us are not left out when considering these different diseases, especially, our communities are impacted at a higher rate compared to other communities. So it's very important that people like me and you get out here and educate our community, especially with neurological diseases that run prevalent in our communities.
Absolutely.
So, outside of science, I know you are a mental health advocate. You do so much outreach. So, tell us more about your organization, Consciously Coping, and how does how do your experiences influence your approach with mental health outreach?
So just a little short background. So I initially started a blog called I'm Depressed, Get Over It. And that blog, I always talk about this, was really a way for me to vent and tell people you don't understand what I'm going through and I need to get this out. I did that for about a few months. My mental health kind of crashed. I moved back home at the time I was in Florida. I moved back home to Savannah and I started a YouTube. I was like, oh, I don't do YouTube. I want free hair. I want free clothes. I want free makeup. And I started doing. I was like, I don't like this. And one day I was like, I should do this thing called Transparency Tuesday. I'll get on. I'll talk about mental health and my struggles and whatever. So I started doing that, and those videos were getting hundreds of views. Women were messaging me and like, oh my gosh, I go through this too. I've never heard anybody talk about. I thought I was the only person. I was like, maybe this is what I should be doing. Maybe the makeup and hair things aren't for me. So I was trying to figure out a name. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, it got to be something consciously that you do every day. It got to be, and I kept saying, like, it got to be like something conscious. And I was like, what do you do consciously? I was like, talking to myself in the car. I'm like, well, I was like, I try to cope consciously. And it came just like that. And I was like, this is what it is. And so I really started to read about mental health challenges. I started to try to find Black men and women who are talking about their personal experiences, and that's when I started diving deep in it. At that time, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, and PTSD. Now, none of the medications ever worked. I have tried every antidepressant you can think of in the world. They made it worse, and so I would stop taking them. It wouldn't be until 2017 until I went to a psychiatrist. I was just struggling. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Something is going on. Nothing is working. I'm going to therapy. Nothing is helping. And she diagnosed me with bipolar disorder type 2. I started a mood stabilizer. Within 3 months, I was like, this is what it feels to live a normal life. Like I was so like, I've never felt like like, oh my gosh, I've never felt like this. I had more energy. I had energy to do things. I was excited. I wanted to get up and go. And I was like, oh my gosh, it has taken me 10, 20 plus years to get the help that I
Mhm.
needed. And I was like, I gotta share this story with people. People have to know this. People have to know how long it takes to get the proper diagnoses, what kind of medications we have, how they work. And so I just started to build off of that. And I started taking consciously coping serious. I would go to events. I started trying to network, just put my name out there. And so things just opened up. I started speaking at events. I'm currently one of the board of directors for Depressed While Black. I do a lot of outreach. I help people who are unhoused. I try right now. I'm currently trying to get a grant where we can offer mental health services to people who don't have insurance. So like, because those things are important to me. And even
Mhm.
though I share my personal story, I want to help people, especially in a monetary way, help them, have some type of money, get some type of treatment. So that's how like consciously coping started. That's how like all of this mental health just work, just like it kind of exploded and it just took off. And I love it. I love that I can take my neuroscience, right, background and then meld it together with my lived experience as well as consciously coping. Yep.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing because the stigma around the diagnosis, of being bipolar is it makes it difficult for people to feel comfortable coming out about it. And then also sometimes it's hard to see the signs, like, or know the signs. Like, you'll think, oh, maybe I'm just anxious. Oh, maybe I can't, my mind racing because I'm anxious, or because or I can't sleep because I'm anxious. Like, you'll think all these different things. And then sometimes, at least with the PhD program, those stressors can trigger it, and you don't really, and if you're undiagnosed, you have no clue why you're struggling so hard.
Yeah, it's and one thing about getting a PhD is so much work. And so we have long days, we have long nights, we have sometimes where we just have to stay up because we got a deadline, we got to get this done, we're writing a paper. And so trying to balance all of that and manage bipolar disorder is extremely difficult because some days I'll go home and I'm like, I really need to stay up to get this done. But sleep is so important for my mental health. Once I start
Yeah.
getting out of my sleep pattern, I could be in a hypomanic episode or a depressive episode. So I have to walk this really tight line of like, you work from 9 to 5, that's it. Now, if you want to go home and write for 2 hours or something, that's cool. But you can't stay up to 3 and 4 in the morning. You gotta go to bed. Like you gotta go to sleep. So and that's it's hard. It's hard, especially when you see people around you who are like, oh, I worked all day in lab and then I went home and then I wrote until 3 in the morning and then I woke up at 7. I went back to lab and I'm like, I can't do that.
I'm like,
I
I need a
can't.
life. I
Yeah.
can't do that at all. I got a
Yeah.
baby. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to bed because my baby might wake up at 3
Yeah.
in the morning wanting some
Yes.
milk. Okay. I'm
Yes.
going to
I got
sleep.
to go to sleep. I'm like, I got to go to bed. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I can get that, like, it's different. People don't understand too, like, certain things that can happen, especially us being black in the space. Like, to other people, it may seem like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're just being hypersensitive. Oh, you just did. No, I feel what I feel. And it's not just because of my diagnosis, but I may feel the feeling more intensely than a neurotypical
Yes.
person, possibly because of the diagnosis. But that doesn't mean that the feeling is invalid.
Yeah, yeah. And you would think like in the neuroscience community, they will understand anxiety, they will understand depression, they will understand schizophrenia, but and it's just like it goes over their head. Like they do all this research and then you say I have anxiety, and they're like, oh, well, can't you just study harder? Well, can't you just? And I'm like, don't you study anxiety? So that's
Right,
not the case.
right. So, it just comes with making sure that you know yourself, know who you are.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed to have a support system of people
Mm-hmm.
that you know that you can be comfortable talking to about it. So, it's a battle, but it can be done. We live in
Mm-hmm.
testimonies that it can be done. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
outside of, like, having the diagnosis and those struggles, how do you balance being a co-founder, well, not co-founder, a founder, excuse me, um, and then, making content, you're being a speaker, you're balancing all your work, you're getting ready to do your candidacy exam, so you're very saturated. So how do you balance that?
I think the best thing that I have done since I started is really having a calendar. So I have a calendar, and when I say like on my calendar, lab from this time to that time, that's it. I'm like, you gonna be in lab 4 hours a day, don't stay 5, go home. So I'm really strict with my calendar. I'm really like trying to stay on top of it. I actually said today before I talk to my mom every morning and I looked at my calendar and I was like, you gotta start saying no to stuff. You got like
Mm,
too many things on this calendar. You gonna have to start saying no. And so that's the biggest thing. And it's hard to say no, right? So it's hard to be like, I'm sorry I can't do that. I'm sorry I can't go here. I'm sorry I can't volunteer. But you have to do that. And with us, especially
mhm.
Black women, We love the work. We love helping people. Like black women love to volunteer. We will volunteer for anything. So I have
For
to catch
real.
myself. Yeah. And then people, the sad part is people expect us to do it. Like people just expect black
Yes.
women to like, oh well, we know Lindsay gonna do it. We know Mia gonna do it. And it's like, no, there's so many people in this program. I'm not the one that has to be there every time.
That's
Especially
right. That's
in
just because I'm
academia.
black don't mean I have to be on the diversity board. I can do my work
Yes,
in a different way. You
yes,
ain't finna just volunteer
yes,
me to be on no board. How you
yes,
gonna tell me just to,
yes.
you know?
That I mean, and they do it, and I mean, it, they do it for every single thing.
Like,
Anything
thank you to
diversity,
those who are on the diversity board, but baby, it is not my ministry. My
yeah,
ministry is to mentor others in a different way, and that's
in a
okay.
different capacity. So yeah, they expect us to do everything. So it's for me building a calendar, being really strict with myself. Like you
Hmm.
cannot deviate out of this calendar. You say you're gonna work 5 hours a day, go home. As soon as that time hit, get your stuff, get out of here. And so that has been the best thing for me. With mental health, I have taken a step back because I'm just so busy. So sometimes I have periods where I'm like really active, and then I'll let my
Hmm.
community know, hey y'all, school is getting hard. I'm gonna take a quick break, but I'll be back. I'm like, I'll be back out. And what I'll do in that case is share like other people's work. So I like share people that I know so people from my community can still get some information. But for me, I'm like, I have to step away. But people like I started sharing that I do mental health work here. So people here even reach out and like, hey, you want to talk to some students, you want to talk to this organization, you want to do this. So I have started doing just little things here to kind of keep up with that. But yeah, try and people like work life balance. I don't really think there's a such thing, but I do. We just have to say no. I think when people say work life balance, that's really meaning you just need to start saying no. No, I can't do that. No, I can't go today. No, I can't go. Like it's just you just gotta say no. Like and saying no hurts people feelings sometimes, but find somebody else.
What you
Find
say?
somebody else.
Get somebody else to do it,
Get
baby.
somebody else to do it. So yeah, that's how I, balance everything. Is just keeping that calendar, keeping myself strict, saying no to things that I know I can't just like, overwork myself. Even with lab, I plan everything. Oh, I'm doing this experiment today. I'm gonna do it from this time to that time. This is it. And literally, I plan it out. Like I'll sit the week before and like, okay, what I'm gonna do next week? I need to do this.
Hmm.
What days you want
Hmm.
to do it on? This day. Okay, cool. I think I've worked maybe 2 weekends since I've been in grad school because
Ooh,
I scheduled myself wrong, right? So like I
two
messed my schedule.
weekends.
So
Way to
yes,
go,
because I'm like I'm not gonna be here on Saturday and Sunday. So I
girl.
just try to set.
I wish that
But see,
cell
you all
culture
work
work
with my
had
see.
me
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
rats. Oh, the rats. I get the heebie-jeebies when I think about it.
yeah. But my like rodent labs and cell culture, you kind of don't have a choice. You kind of gotta come in sometimes on the weekend. But
This
for
is so
me,
painful. It's
yeah,
painful.
for me, like when I do an experiment, it depends on what I'm doing. I can say, okay, if I start on Wednesday, I know this is a 3 day process. I need to do this on Wednesday, that on Thursday, this on Friday. I'm like, okay, then I'm good. Now we do have 4 graduate students in our lab, and I was like, we need a calendar to schedule stuff because
Girl,
so,
what? With the
so
multiple equipment and
yeah.
people sharing it, it's like, look, I need to use this at this time on this day. So
So
get up
now
on out my way, baby.
so now we have a calendar system that I made. I was like, if you don't sign up, you ain't getting
You
that
ain't
rig.
using it.
You ain't using it. So that's how we do it now. And I've gotten really strict. I had to tell somebody, I'm like, hey, you didn't sign up. You got to get off. I signed up for
I
it.
know, girl,
Like,
me
I'm sorry.
too.
Like, you got to get off because I got stuff I got to do. You messing up my time.
They
I'm
had
going
the nerve
home.
to email you. They had the nerve to email you yet asking, hey, can I use
Uh
this
huh.
time?
Uh huh.
No,
Mm hmm.
no, no,
Mm
no. I need
hmm.
my
Mm
time, baby. I
hmm.
got a
Mm
paper coming. I can,
hmm.
I
That just
don't
happened recently. Yeah, they're like, please, like I didn't sign up for it, and I really want to do it because if I don't do it this time, and I was like,
Mm-mm.
If you start before my schedule time, yeah, you can do it. I'm like, I scheduled it for this time. I'm like, it's this time now. You got an hour. You better figure it out.
I'm about like, tell a pair, you're not about to manipulate me.
Mm-mm. Like, and that goes to back to what we just said. You gotta say no. Sometimes you
Set
gotta say no.
boundaries.
And being a black woman, the first thing they say is we got an attitude, we mad, we're angry. And it's like, no, like I scheduled this time. Sorry, no, move out of the way. You can use it after me. And it's sorry.
And
So
that's that.
yeah, yeah.
So, what advice would you give students who are considering a similar path in your field or anything, nonprofit? What would you suggest for our scholars?
So academic wise, even if you're in a big institution or you're in a small institution, research is very important. These like PhD programs are bringing in these students who are undergraduates with papers, who've done research in lab for 2, 3 years, who've gone on internships, who've done poster presentations, who've done talks. So the game is changing. And if you're
Hmm.
at an institution where you don't have the opportunity to do research, you got to do the work. You have to apply to summer research programs. You got to email PIs. You have to do that because you need to start building that academic background. Um, we know Black folks, Latino folks, we typically go to smaller institutions. So we already starting at the back of the line. So you have to kind of take that initiative because you want to stand out. When you put that application in, you want to be like you want them to be like, this is crazy. How did this student even do all of this? You want them to be like, they got a 3.8 and you want them to be excited about you going to their program. So if you're an undergrad, really focus on that. If you decide that, like, I don't know if I want to go to a PhD, I would do a post-bac program, see if you like it, find a really good one, find a good mentor, go to one of those programs, and you'll really learn, like, I don't know if I want to do a PhD. So I would suggest do that. If you've been out of school, I was a non-traditional student, so I had sat out of school for some years. If you're non-traditional, you can do it. Don't beat yourself up. Don't say I'm too old. Don't say I got children. Don't say I got, don't I'm a grandma, whatever. You can do
Right?
it. Just like those undergrads get up and do it, you can do it too. For us who have come, non-traditional past, they made me asking for help. You got a baby? Ask for help. Hey, can you watch this baby while I study? Thank you. You can do it. Oh, I gotta go to work. Okay, I'm gonna work, but then this is my time. This is my time to study. So you can do it as well, even if you're not traditional. So those are kind of some of the steps I would take academically. If you're interested in like mental health work, I would definitely say if you're not comfortable talking about your personal experience, there are local organizations. There are hundreds of organizations online in hundreds of cities. Reach out to them, They are really most of them are really cool, really nice. Reach out to them, see if you can work with them, see if you can shadow them, see if they have an internship, whatever it
Hmm.
is, so you can start, learning some of that background info, and then you can figure out like, oh, well, this is what you need to run a nonprofit. And a lot of them will mentor you. They will teach you how to get a 501, how to become a 501c. So you have to just put yourself out there and don't be afraid. Now, if you're comfortable talking about your personal experience, you just got to do it. Like that's the only thing. Like everybody I know that talks like gets on. It's like I have this, I go through this. They say the same thing. You just kind of got to do it. You got to turn that camera on and just go for it. I would say definitely before that, think about what you want from your advocacy. Like before you start doing advocacy, like what do I want to get out of this? Like what is the purpose of me doing this? Is it just for me to share my story because I just want people to know about my life, or is it like I want to share my story in a way that helps other people? So you kind of got to figure out like why you want to do it. So I think that's the most important part. Be careful. You still want to have your life personal. Like I don't talk about relationships. I was married. I got divorced a while ago, like some years ago. I don't talk about what we went through. I have a son. I do not talk about my son online. So there's certain things that I'm like, this is my privacy and I'm keeping
Hmm.
this. These are the things you can know, but I'm not involving other people into this because that's not fair to them, right? That's not fair to them. So those are things that I would definitely think about academically. And then if you wanted to do like excuse me, do like an organization or a nonprofit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So get out there. Don't just stay stuck in the lab. You know,
Mm-hmm.
network,
Mm-hmm.
build
Mm-hmm.
relationships, be able to step out your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to talk to people. It's
Mm-hmm.
just you never know who people are connected to. So
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
that in a nutshell. But
Mm-hmm.
that leads me to ask, so how can our scholars connect with you? You have all this going on. I know if they can connect with you several ways. So how can they follow you and learn more about you?
Yes, if you want to follow me on social media for like academic work, it's not another neuroscientist. So not another neuroscientist on Instagram. I do not have a Twitter. I had one, but I don't like Twitter. um, if you want to follow Consciously Coping, it's Consciously Coping everywhere. It's Consciously Coping on Facebook. It's Consciously Coping on Instagram. It's Facebook, Instagram. I don't have Snap. I don't not Snap. I don't have TikTok anymore. But yeah, so those are the ways. If you want to reach out to me like via email, like if you want to do something neuroscience based, I would reach out at Instagram. That'll probably be the fastest to see me because I'm always on my phone. I love pictures. So I'm always trying to see pictures. So yeah, message me on you can message me on Instagram. If it's something consciously coping related, email me. It's cope.consciously, so cope.consciously at gmail.com, because I'll get that like immediately. And I also have one of my really good friends. She's kind of like my assistant, but not like my assistant. She just checks my emails for me because I'm in grad school. So she's like, hey, you got this email. They want you to do this. What do you want me to say? And then I'm like, oh, can you tell them no? Can you tell them yes? So cope.consciously for my email and yeah.
So that's a wrap on this powerful episode of STEMspired. Huge thank you to future Dr. Lindsay Anderson for sharing her journey with such honesty, wisdom, and heart. If her story lit a spark in you, make sure to follow her work on YouTube and connect with her nonprofit and her social media pages. Whether you're navigating academia, dreaming of a STEM career, or simply trying to better understand your own mental health, Lindsay's work is a reminder that you belong in these spaces. So, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with someone who needs a little STEM inspiration today.